Good morning, Miami. It's Let's Chat with Disco George again. Today, I am bringing you another fantastic guest. Not only is he fantastic, he's actually a friend of mine that I've known for over 30 years from Coral Gables High, class of 86. And I've been following him, and he's doing fantastic work in the community and with our children. If you have a child that needs a little guidance to get on track, exercise, and have some confidence, this is the man for you. George.
Hey!
Zens. Let me call you Zens.
That's it. That's how they know me now. It's been a long time.
I'm telling you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good, George. Thank you for having me, man. You know, blessed to be here and blessed to be doing what I'm doing.
Well, I love seeing you on Instagram, on your Zens anti-bully site. I see the videos of your kids, the passion that they have. It's unbelievable.
Little savages, huh?
Oh, they're savages, and of course you're the savage. I remember you started off bodybuilding.
Yes.
Weren't you Mr. Olympia?
Come on, I wish. Olympia, big O. I competed. I won the Mr. Miami, won the Florida back when it was, there's still the Florida competition. But, stopped the bodybuilding, wasn't for me, and just, pursued more the mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing world. And, And the MMA, you did MMA? Yeah, I never competed in MMA, but I am an MMA coach.
And you also did some hosting. Weren't you doing that, like, ringside stuff for a while?
Oh, yeah. I went ahead and, apparently somebody liked my voice. So I became a ring announcer, commentator, and pretty much traveled the world doing a lot of gigs. I loved it.
So let's get to what started Zens anti-bully. Mm-hmm. Tell me the story where it all began.
Well, in 2008, I basically left the whole fitness world. I was a general manager for LA Fitness, so working for corporate America, doing a lot of great stuff, and was given the opportunity to travel with, commentating and ring announcing. And in one of my trips, I viewed a story on Instagram of a little child that survived brain cancer, only to go back to school, and 2 weeks after going back to school, she committed suicide because they were taunting her.
Oh, my God.
It broke me, George. So, I started wondering what's going on. If this little girl can survive something like brain cancer and, go back to school and take her own life from, the taunting or the bullying of kids. And had a, talk with the man upstairs, and it became my calling. So as of that time, I started, I said, I'm a martial artist, been doing this for a long time. Let me see if I can devote myself more to kids, empower kids, and, see what's going on with this bullying topic. I'm the guy to make a change. So
let me ask you, since back in the day, obviously, there was bullying. There's always been bullying.
Always, and there always will be, unfortunately.
Exactly. But nowadays, in 2023, there's not only the bullying, physical bullying, there's online bullying.
Cyberbullying, verbal bullying is probably worse than physical bullying.
We used to be safe when we left school. Yeah, and so, but sometimes, you would see the bully outside, but now you have them 24/7, and they could look you up online.
They'll create memes, posts. They'll spread it. Every single classmate of theirs will see it. And you know how social media is. It's pretty brutal.
Right.
So, it's pretty much made it even more possible, on a way wider scale for kids to actually suffer from bullying.
Exactly. So tell me, once let's say that, one of our viewers has this issue, maybe that their child is being bullied, mm-hmm. or maybe they're just on their phone all the time and in their room, and they don't want to go out, especially with this heat. Mm-hmm. But tell me, where are you located now?
I'm in the South Miami area. I'm inside Elite Athletes Performance. It's right down in South Miami. It's a spectacular place.
Yeah. Isn't it by the Big Cheese?
Yes, down the street from the Big Cheese, actually.
I love the Big Cheese.
So if you know the Big Cheese as a landmark, right down the street.
Right down the street.
Yes.
So tell me, what would be the beginning of the program for a regular student, and what age could you start at?
Well, what I do is I do a pre-evaluation on the child. I have them as young as 4 years old all the way on up to they're going to college. I like for my kids and the family, the kids to stay in the program, obviously, as long as possible. So when I have a conversation with the parents, I let them know that they want to first and foremost instill, that in their kids where they finish what they start. Unfortunately, a lot of kids are running their households. So you got 5- and 6-year-olds telling their parents, I don't want to do this anymore. And the parents are like, you don't have to. No, they do have to. Because then what you're doing is, as the child starts to grow and get, older, they're going to start quitting or leaving everything halfway. And
exactly.
That's not something
they never finish anything.
Nothing. And then that, goes on to their adulthood. They find a job. Boss gives them a hard time, and they leave the job.
Exactly.
They start, a new project. It becomes difficult, and they leave that and start something new. And then I call that the new beginnings phase, where every time you quit on something, you feel like it's going to get fixed by starting something else. And that's not the case. What you need to do is, stick to it while, when it becomes difficult, make sure that, you finish what you start.
So when you do, tell me a little bit about the evaluation.
When the child comes in, I do motor skills, reflexes, attention span, make sure that, if they're too little, sometimes the immaturity level, won't allow them to actually take the class. So I might tell the parent, listen, for the beginning, maybe they should work privately with me. So that way they're not as much of a disruption in class, because then I can focus on them personally.
Right.
And, start working from there.
So what would be phase one? Tell me, like phase one, is it more of you start with cardio? What is it exactly?
Everything. I basically, in our boxing curriculum, when they come in, it starts off with a warm-up. After their warm-up, whatever it is that I'm teaching for the day, it's a lot of footwork. So if you've ever gone to a dance class, man, it's very similar. So it's a lot of footwork. So a good boxing coach or a good striking coach won't teach you to strike first. They'll teach you to move your feet.
All right.
Yeah. So they'll teach the whole coordination aspect of the training, and then they'll start putting together, as the curriculum starts to get a little bit more difficult, you start advancing them, in techniques, things like that. But my major focal point is mentoring.
Let me ask you, we had discussed the mentoring part is very important, but you also, what I liked what you told me was that you also include the parents.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how you actually work together with the parents to the goal to,
Achieve that goal?
Achieve that goal.
Well, it's a famous slogan. Families that play together stay together. And that's something that's 100% on point. So if you bring a child to me and I work with a child for an hour or two a week, how much is that really going to help if the parent isn't following my lead at home? So what I've done is...
So it's almost like a homework.
Absolutely. And I deal with a lot of homes where there's not a father present as well, or divorced homes where the mom has them a certain amount of time, dad has them a certain amount of time. And that puts a child through a lot of traumatic, experiences and stuff when they deal with, divorced, parents. So what I do is I come in as, that mentor, that big brother, that coach that kind of keeps them in check, keeps them in line. And the mentoring is actually more important, George, than the physical, because if you have a child that, is not mentally stable as far as, maintaining that discipline and that character to be able to move forward, what is the kicking and punching? Any fool can teach your child to kick and punch. You have to teach your child to be a leader. So leadership is the most important thing in my program. And it goes through mentoring. I deal with special needs, autism.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It works awesome with autistic kids because they love when you call out numbers, different movements. I make it really, really fun for them. So
tell me, can you get a little bit more interesting? Because I'm sure we have lots of viewers that if they don't have an autistic kid, they know one for sure. Unfortunately, there's been an increase of autism, and It's incredible because they call it, I've heard it's a superpower because they focus completely different than we do. Can you elaborate a little bit on of one of your?
Absolutely. I mean, some of my kids, they process things differently. They paint the world with purple crayons. So, it's really cool to deal with autistic kids because when they come in, what you're trying to do is, first of all, there's different kids on levels of the spectrum. So you have kids that are considered autistic, but they're like you and I. You would be like, well, there's nothing wrong with this child. And there is. They may be socially awkward, different things like that, which then can lead to bullying because the kids see that they're socially awkward. But when it comes to academics and everything in school, they're perfect. They're not, they're not taking any remedial courses or anything like that. It just has to do with their character, attitude. And then you do have kids that are a little, more on the spectrum, and we have to I have to kind of put together more games per se when I'm teaching, make it a little bit more exciting. You know, they love when you deal with colors or when you deal with sounds or when you deal with a lot of different avenues in boxing. Now, boxing, since they're always having to put on gloves and punch the mitts and stuff like that, they love it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
They're
stemming.
They're really,
yeah,
they
they're
get
releasing.
physical?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, I got some of my kids that you got to be careful with them out there when they go
Oh
to
my
both of
God.
these kids. Yeah.
You, in other words, you open up a can of whoop.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. You do. So, and the most important thing is teaching them control. You know, and I tell parents, if I have a very aggressive kid, you know, not an autistic kid, but a kid that may come with aggression, because I do get that as well. So we start off a little bit more with the boxing boot camp. We don't get so much into the striking yet. It's a lot more mentoring. And then as they start to develop, you know, then I go a little bit more, because you don't want to get a child that's aggressive.
Right.
Teach them the box, and then they're going ahead and they become a bully.
Exactly.
You know, so it just
Let me ask you, since you touched upon that, have you had any like rebellious type kids they're like, I'm here, but because my parents told me?
Well, we do. I mean, rebellious kids, I've definitely encountered through my time.
I wasn't too rebellious. I know.
You know me from high school. I was pretty bad myself, fighting all the time. But we do. But the thing is, you have to teach them who's boss. And this is one of the things that I want to explain to the parents. You are the boss of your household, not your child. Okay? And if you don't instill discipline in your child from a very early age, you're going to lose them later on, because sometimes they bring them to me at 12 and 13. Nobody disciplined them when they were 5 or 6, and there's some loose cannons out there.
Yeah.
They still can't walk over me because it's what coach says.
Exactly.
You know, so I make them understand from the beginning that I am boss, period. And then they are there to listen and, you know, to go ahead and learn. So disciplining to me is one of the most important things that you should do with your child from a very, very early age. Okay, I tell my parents, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, I know it sounds funny, I tell them, you don't have an opinion. Okay, it's what mom or dad says. Be quiet, shut up, go to bed, come back, sleep, take a shower.
No chicken nuggets.
That's it. Simple. Because, you know, you let them, you know, obviously have an identity, but you have to teach them who's boss from a very early age. Also, if you do put together a punishment or you put them in timeout, you know, it's got to be something that actually that they feel.
Right.
You know, and you can't, if you say, you know, you're going to be in timeout for, let's say, a couple hours.
All right.
You can't come 15 minutes later because they're crying or sobbing and then just kind of like let them do their thing.
All right.
Because kids do know how to manipulate.
Oh, of course.
Oh, my God. So, you know, that's one of the things is standing strong to whatever punishment you instill and rewarding. Obviously,
Exactly.
rewarding your child for being good. You know, you're going to ask a child, like when I ask my kids, well, what do you prefer? You prefer to get punished? Or you prefer to get rewarded? Oh, I want to get rewarded. I said, well, do you think you're going to get rewarded for bad behavior?
Exactly.
They're like, no. So repetition is habit forming.
All right.
You know?
Let me ask you, does your training camp have belts? Because my son was in karate for a while, and the belt thing drove me a little crazy. So tell me, do you have that in your location?
I did have a belt ranking system and decided to do away with it for the time being, other than the jiu-jitsu program. Jiu-jitsu does have a belt ranking system, but you got to be there for a while before you actually get your first belt. To give you an idea, if you're a white belt, you're probably going to be there about 1.5 years to 2 years before you actually go to the next belt and get your blue. It's not like you're going to get a belt 3 months later. Then you go into the whole Johnny G Award, participation award. My kid needs it because he participated. No, kids need to go home and learn how to lose.
All right.
It's a very valuable lesson in life.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not your typical karate jiu-jitsu place. I'm telling you. He is a hands-on coach that will get on your son, but in a great way to focus them. And the results are, I see them. They're fantastic.
Thank you, George. Well, one of the things that I like to say is that telling isn't teaching. You must teach. And in order for me to ensure that I'm getting what I want out of my kids, I need to be present. So I'm a very present coach. I'm in all my classes. I'm the one that teaches, you know, most of my kids. Even when my instructors, I do have instructors that teach jiu-jitsu, I'm present to see how the program is running, how the kids are responding and adapting, so forth and so on.
Okay. So can you tell us like a recent success story that from your location, somebody that just walked in, had never done nothing, you know.
I mean, even now, as a matter of fact, one recent, I have one of my kids, I like to, do a shout out to my boy Alex and his little brother, Brian. These kids, they came to me pretty much athletic, but they never threw a punch in their life, and they're doing phenomenal. So much so that I'm actually looking to possibly get Alex's first boxing match in the next couple of months. He's real excited about it, and I'm real excited about it. So I haven't focused as much on the competition unless it's a personal goal or journey of the child or the parent. I'm more of that mentor and coach that wants to make sure that this child grows to be an amazing adult that knows how to defend themselves, but most importantly, has the character and the mindset, because the mind is everything.
Exactly.
Okay? Anybody can teach your child to kick and punch, like I said. And if that child doesn't have the right mindset, then it leads to the reason why I started doing this, to suicide thoughts, drugs, alcohol, running with the wrong crowds, because they don't have a specific protocol or, something that they're supposed to do, a daily routine that's of positivity.
Well, yeah, routine is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially at a young age. I remember I could only attest to my son. If we moved him out of his regular routine, it would screw up everything.
Throw him off.
It would throw him off. And, we would like, wait, but come on, let's do this. Like, no. And it's funny because he liked the routine.
Well, think of us as adults.
Yeah.
If you take me out of my routine, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
So since I have to be a man routine, whether it's with my training, with my meals, with my business, I have a certain time during the day where I answer my emails, answer parents, do my things. I also like to have my curriculum and everything in order when I actually get to the gym. I don't want to sit there and say, what do I do today?
Talking about your curriculum, what times do you actually have the classes?
My classes right now, since I'm in this temporary facility, it's Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 to 7 p.m. However, I do work privately with the kids or adults and parents throughout the course of the day. A lot of parents have fallen in love with what I do with the kids. They're like, Coach, can you work with me? I'm like, absolutely. Why don't you come in one day? I'll train you alone, or come in with your son or daughter, have a mom and daughter class, or have a father-son class. Where else can you bond like that with your family?
Exactly.
And still keep it physically active.
Obviously, you could also use it as a weight loss.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, as a nutritionist, I help with, if they want to lose weight, they want to get in shape. So obviously a lot of cardio. It's very, very physical, So you get in some really good shape with this program.
Wow. I might have to call you up.
Call me up, George. I got you, baby.
Let me ask. I'm sure you and I both have had back issues.
Yes.
There's a lot of people out there that especially like in their 50s. We're not the same crazy kids that we were in our 20s, and we're feeling it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, mentally at least.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Do you have programs for people that have back issues?
Absolutely. We do. We strengthen core. We strengthen lower back. We strengthen joints. We strengthen muscles. We ensure proper form. Make sure that injury prevention is one of the most important things for me. And we're doing a boxing, an MMA program. So obviously there's striking. Kids put on their headgear, gloves. There's sparring. So. Yeah.
Wow.
They go at it.
Unbelievable. Well, let me ask you again, your website. You don't have a website, but the actual Instagram, please. What is it again?
Right now, my Instagram is simple. Zens Antibully.
Okay.
They can find me on there, or, they can just call me.
Excellent. All right. Do you have any last words or anything before we finish up?
I just want to tell the parents that consistency is key. And if you're having a problem with your child, please do me a favor and check their phones, check their social medias, look at what they're watching constantly. Okay? There's a lot of avenues out there that leads to certain web pages and certain sites and certain things that they should not be watching. Okay? That I cannot stress that enough. If your child is having any issues where they're being bullied, it could be physical, it could be verbal, please speak to your kids constantly. Dig. Don't be afraid to dig on what's going on with their daily, lives, and who are the people who they're hanging out with, and maybe might want to do boxing or just want to do the art because they've watched UFC or something on TV and say, Mom, Dad, I want to do this. A lot of parents are in love with this. So for whatever reason.
Yeah, and the beauty is that they can actually bond together and make a better relationship.
Well, what I've done too is my team knows that. If I have a newcomer, we make our kids feel as comfortable as possible. Imagine, the first time you came in somewhere and, you were like the oddball because you had never been there before. And I have my kids, sometimes I have a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old in the same class.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's super cool. Because then that child is not intimidated. They don't feel it's like anybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, George Zen Rodriguez.
Sir.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
It's been my pleasure.
And I'm telling you, I see you on Instagram, but when it's great to see a person, especially after so long that we hadn't seen each other.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, George.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a like. And if you really liked it, please give it a share.